Hello everyone, this is Teddy Sagun. Today, we are going to learn something new and something catchy that will surely interest you. So what we mean by Neoclassicism? Where did Neoclassicism originated? Who were the significant artists and what are the most salient features of artworks during that time? After the Renaissance, a period of exploration and expansiveness, came a reaction in the direction of order and restraint. Generally speaking, this reaction developed in France in the mid-17th century and in England 30 years later, and it dominated European literature until the last part of the 18th century. Neoclassicism is a revival of the classical past. It was developed during the 18th century in Europe. The artists began to imitate Greek and Roman antiquity and painters of the Renaissance as a reaction to the excessive style of Baroque and Rococo. Neoclassicism originated in Rome at the beginning of the 18th century, but then it spread all over Europe, partly due to the Grand Tour, the trip in which European students traveled around the continent. It has a great collection of antiquities where it began to be discovered and re-evaluated. Neoclassicism was also an important movement in the United States. American Neoclassicism took inspiration from the ancient civilizations of Rome and Greece, both for politics as well as for architecture. Movements in the arts that draw inspiration from the classical art and culture of ancient Greece and Rome. Discoveries such as the paintings and mosaics found at the excavations of Pompeii and Herculaneum in 738 increased artistic fascination and curiosity for antiquity. Neoclassicism is characterized by clarity of form, sober colors, shallow space, strong horizontal and verticals that render the subject matter timeless, instead of temporal as in the dynamic Baroque works and classical subject matter or classicizing contemporary subject matter. Clarity of form is a clearness or lucidity as to perception or understanding, freedom from indistinctness or ambiguity. Sober colors, colors that are sober are plain and not bright. Shallow space, the image appears flat or two-dimensional because there is little or no depth. Strong horizontal and verticals. Verticals are more important than any other. The vertical line separates man from animal. It can stand alone without any other support and demonstrates the direction of gravity. Horizontals are known among artists as a landscape painter's line. Neoclassical painting. Neoclassical painting gained new momentum with the great success of David's Oath of the Herati at the Paris Salon of 1785. The painting was commissioned by the royal government and was created in a style that was the perfect combination of idealized structure and dramatic effect. The painting created an uproar, and David was proclaimed to have perfectly defined the neoclassical taste in his painting style. He thereby became the quintessential painter of the movement. In the Oath of the Herati, the perspective is perpendicular to the picture plane. It is defined by a dark arcade behind several classic heroic figures. There is an element of theater, or staging, that evokes the grandeur of opera. Jean-Auguste Dominique Ingres, a neoclassical painter of history and portraiture. It was also one of David's students. Deeply devoted to classical techniques, Ingres is known to have believed himself to be a conservator of the style of the ancient masters, although he later painted subjects in the Romantic style. Marie-Guillaume Benoit. In this untraced oil on canvas, Benoit then, Roi de la Ville, paints a section from David's acclaimed neoclassical paintings of Justinian's blinded general Belisarius begging for alms. Her return of the viewer's gaze and classical attire show her confidence as an artist and conformity to artistic trends. Angelique Monges. It is best known for being one of the few women to paint monumental subjects that often included the male nude, a feat for which hostile critics often attacked her. Neoclassical sculptures. Voltaire's tomb in Pantheon, Paris. In his tomb sculpture, the Enlightenment philosopher Voltaire is honored in true neoclassical form, in a style influenced by ancient Roman verism. He appears as an elderly man to honor his wisdom. He wears a contemporary commoner's blouse to convey his humbleness, and his robe assumes the appearance of an ancient Roman toga from a distance. Like his ancient predecessors, his facial expression and his body language suggest an air of scholarly seriousness. Bust of George Washington by Jean-Antoine Houdon. Jean-Antoine Houdon's were mainly portraits, very often as busts, which do not sacrifice a strong impression of the sitter's personality to idealism. His style became more classical as his long career continued, and represents a rather smooth progression from Rococo charm to classical dignity. Unlike some neoclassical sculptures, he did not insist on his sitters wearing Roman dress or being unclothed. Hebe by Antonio Canova. The Italian artist Antonio Canova and the Danish artist Bertel Thorvaldsen were both based in Rome and produced many ambitious life-size figures and groups. Both represented the strongly idealizing tendency in neoclassical sculpture. Neoclassical architecture. Chateau of the Petit Trianon by André-Jacques Gabriel. The first phase of Neoclassicism in France is expressed in the Louis XVI style of architects like André-Jacques Gabriel. Petit Trianon, 1762 to 1768. André-Jacques Gabriel was the premier architect at Versailles, and his neoclassical designs for the royal palace dominated mid-18th century French architecture. Arc de Triomphe. The director's style reflected the revolutionary belief in the values of Republican Rome. This style was a period in the decorative arts, fashion, and especially furniture design, concurrent with the post-revolution French director, November 2, 1795 to November 10, 1799. The style uses neoclassical architectural forms, minimal carving, flaring expanses of highly grained veneers, and applied decorative painting. The Pantheon by Jacques Germain Soufflot, an original architect, and Jean-Baptiste Rondelet. The Pantheon, located in the Latin Quarter of Paris, was originally built as a church dedicated to Saint Genevieve and to house the reliquary chassis containing her relics. Lord Burlington Chiswick House. The design of Chiswick House in West London was influenced by that of Palladio's domestic architecture, particularly the Billiard Rotunda in Venice. The step tone and temple facade were clearly influenced by the Roman Pantheon. Thank you everyone for listening to my presentation, and I hope you learned something new from this video. And remember, love is a passion which kindles honor into noble acts.